Y107.9 FM. Now, we promised you guys in the course of the weekend that we would have a special Wiley the Boat series today. We're in for business. I guess it's in the building. Now, for my first-time listeners, Wiley the Boat series is YFM's innovative radio programming content, which was set to develop the youth and provide inspiration to all our listeners. I mean, all of us, the young and the young at heart. And the stats reveal that Ghana's population is young, with about 61% being 30 years and below. According to the International Labour Organization's Youth and Future Work Survey, about one-third of the youth in emerging and developing countries like Ghana view their future work life with fear and uncertainty. Why? Because there's not a lot to learn from. People read books, but there's not a lot when it comes to the practical steps through which they can get through what they find themselves doing. YFM is Ghana's #1 urban youth and music station. We have year-on-year domination in youth radio programming, according to the Geopoll. We therefore deem it a big responsibility to add to the bouquet of creative and informative content on our station by hosting leaders and achievers in the various sectors and, of course, industries in Ghana and beyond, in bringing hope, meaning, development, and leadership coaching tips to our vibrant listeners, followers on radio and digital platforms as well. And so we have a special one coming your way today. I'm very, very excited about this, to be honest. If you want to be a part of the conversation, 0202222073 gets you in via WhatsApp. On Twitter, just put in the hashtag Wiley the Boat Series. You don't even have to tweet at us. On Facebook, we're live now, Y1079 FM. Make sure you drop a like on there. Join us. Let's make it happen. Let's make a difference today. Now, it is said that strength doesn't come from what you can do, but what you overcome. Indeed, surviving and thriving is top of our agenda today on Wiley the Boat series, with our guest being a stranger to none of them. Now, she is an experienced corporate commercial lawyer with finance experience and specialization in energy, financial and infrastructural sectors. An economics and business graduate. Her career began as an analyst at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Some of her past roles include working as a senior associate in a banking and finance practice international law firm, Faskin Martinet LLP in London, and as a consultant senior lawyer in the International Finance and Corporate Department of Radix Legal, a consultant in London, where she provided advice on general debt, project development, and asset finance transactions as well. She has a strong understanding of the African legal business landscape, making her an expert in advising firms setting up in emerging markets as well. A lot to read from, right? Her experience ranges from establishing businesses and consultancies to working with multinational firms, conducting cross-border mergers, acquisitions, financing, and refinancing as well. She's also specialized in insolvency and corporate restructuring, having advised PwC on the liquidation of Ghana Airways back in 2005. Her achievements include recognition by Chambers Global and Legal 500 as the leading lawyer within the field of general business law Ghana in 2009 and 2012 editions, and recognition as a leading lawyer by IFLR 1000. She's a contributor to the World Bank's flagship Doing Business project, Investment Guide to Sub-Saharan Africa, What Chinese Investors Need to Know 2011, the International Trade Center, Joint WTO and UN Agency, Model Contracts for Small Firms, Legal Guidance for Doing International Businesses 2010. See, she's done a lot. I won't even lie. And we have her in the building. She actually holds an LLM in corporate commercial law and is currently undertaking LLM in banking and finance law as well. She also holds a postgraduate diploma in law, Bachelor of Arts, BA in economics, business law, and is a barrister of England and Wales, barrister, and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Ghana. She's a member of the Honorable Society of the Lincolns Inn, Ghana Bar Association, International Bar Association, Financial Services Lawyers Association UK, Inter-Pacific Bar Association, American Bar Association, and the Ghana Association of Restructuring and Insolvency Advisors. She's currently a board director of the Senate Energy and Ghana-India Trade Advisory Chamber. Madam Cynthia Quarcoo is founder and managing partner of CQ Legal, also founder of the African One Media, and a mother of 6, who has proven that our wounds can become the source of our growth. And today, we are super privileged to have her with us in the building to share her life story with us. I mean, all these things I touched on are her achievements, but who is she beyond all these? Welcome to YFM, Madam.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and privilege. I say I'm back home, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
The interview. especially when it comes to Africa One Media and the things that I've done within the industry, I credit quite a few people in the industry having groomed me. And I definitely always mention Reggie Rockstone, who's a childhood friend of mine. I mention His Excellency Michael Quay Jr., who was my first associate, who is very interested in entertainment and media, so allowed me to be able to do that. And then there's another third group of people who are peer pressure.
Wow.
And peer pressure.
Eddie
Blaze peer pressure.
Benny Blanco.
I tell you what.
Kwame Fache.
I'm excited because
Wow.
they groomed me through my friendship and relationship with them, introduced me to YFM when, of course, they started working here, Kweku Tutu, all of them. I used to tune in into this amazing, crazy show that they had.
Wow.
And so it's exciting. And then, of course, DJ Mike Smith is a son.
Smithy.
Yes, Mike Smith also is a son. And Miss Na, who left, of course, is a very close friend of mine. So YFM, I'm back home.
It's home. It's home for
Exciting.
Good to know about that. I mean, first thing I want to find out, when you sit back, I mean, I realized you felt quite different when I was mentioning all these things that you had done.
I did, actually.
Aren't these things too heavy for one person?
You know, I mean, at one point I thought, what's he reading?
Who? Yeah.
I'm humbled. It seems like a lot, and I think I'm blessed.
Wow.
I actually don't like talking about myself when it comes to those types of things because it's overwhelming. I still feel that there's a lot to come. So I don't really talk about myself, but I can just say I'm blessed. I mean, I've had some incredible experiences, and I'm continuing to do so. And the sky is not even a limit. There's more to come.
Wow. I'm inspired already, guys. This is what we are getting on the show today. A double dose of inspiration and motivation, of course, through her life experience. I want to find out, I mean, let's start from the beginning. Beyond all these things that we've had, you were born in the UK, right? And you had the privilege of connecting with the motherland quite often. How exciting was it for you then knowing and connecting with your roots as a child?
In actual fact, I moved to Ghana. I mean, I was here, I went to primary school here in Accra, and then when I got to secondary school, I moved back.
You moved back, okay.
But I always had, like you quite rightly said, I was privileged enough to be able to have the best of both worlds, which has set the stone, really, foundation for my life as it is. It can be a bit unusual, and anybody who was born in the UK or had the privilege of working or living in the UK and also has roots in Ghana, we find ourselves in this peculiar place. In the beginning, it was a bit confusing because I'll go to the UK and I'm not really accepted as British. I come to Ghana and I'm not really
Fully
accepted as
a Ghanaian, yeah.
And so but I've also realized that there's a lot of strength in that. So I've taken advantage of the difference and the good that comes from having had the experience of living in both places to my benefit. So it was great. But I have more friends here. So hey. Enjoy it.
You were quite blessed. I mean, as you mentioned, what kind of parents did you have, and on what foundation, or principles did they raise you?
Okay, so my parents were pretty academic.
Okay.
But also very free-spirited, if I remember. My parents split up when I was young, so I lived with my mother. My father, who's passed a few years back, was a medical doctor. But my father actually wanted to be a musician.
He wanted to be a musician?
Yes, my father wanted to be a musician and came from a family who didn't really encourage that. So when he was sent off to Ireland to read medicine, I'm told that he used to be a member of a band and he played instruments, but that was his first love.
Okay.
And but then, of course, he became a medical doctor. My mother was an accountant, worked as an auditor, and she, interestingly enough, also is a bit of a party person and had that sort of thing in her. So I feel all of that merged together to create my upbringing. I grew up with my mother, had a good relationship with my father, but I grew up with my mother. My mother was a strict disciplinarian.
Okay.
But also free-spirited and very open-minded.
So the kind that would make sure they are strict on things you're supposed to do, but allow you to do your things.
So in terms of my moral standards, the formation of my years, my mom would have conversations that I found out much later. I thought was normal in my, because when I share experiences with my friends, my mom would have conversations about sex when I was about 12, 13, right? About how to conduct yourself as a woman at that age. So she sort of instilled that in me. But my mother was the same person who, I was an only child growing up, was the very person who would allow me to go clubbing at 13.
Club at 13?
Yes.
Wait.
And he said, when we talk about club at 13, it's not like
the disco, not disco.
Yeah. It was still a disco.
Okay.
But the focus at the time was on us dancing, and at that time, the dancing competitions were the in thing. And of course, my good friend Reggie was a dancer. We used to follow them going around Ajete Soa and all of that. My mother would literally allow either a driver or an elder cousin to drive me around.
Wow.
Okay, and take me, so she wanted me to be protected. So I came from that sort of background. It was interesting because I assumed that it was the norm. I found out many years on that it actually wasn't the norm.
It wasn't the norm,
Okay, but my mother also was the same person who would ensure that you studied and you did the right things, and morally, she was very morally upright, but also free-spirited. So it's very interesting. And my father, of course, who I saw, not all the time, but I had relationships with, was also the same. My parents threw some of the most interesting parties, and I was also, part of that at home that entertained people. If I visited my father, they were the life and party everywhere they went. So I think all of that also.
Were you a good dancer too?
I like to think I was. The haters will say I wasn't. I don't care, but I think I was. I used to love to dance. Actually, at one point, I wanted to be a dancer.
You wanted to be a dancer at one point. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about, your school. You mentioned that you moved back to Ghana, quite at a tender age, and you had to do your primary school and all that here. How was the experience? You had experienced school back in the UK, right?
Not really, no.
Not really.
My first experience was here. So actually, it was actually going back to the UK. That was my experience when I did my secondary, finish off my secondary school, and then went to sixth form. That was that experience.
Did you enjoy schooling in Ghana?
I loved it.
Loved it?
I was an only child.
Okay.
So my friends really were my family. And when I celebrated my 50th birthday last year, the biggest task I had was sitting down and reminiscing and going through my formative years, because I really wanted the experience of being able to go back and bring people to celebrate with me who were part of the journey. And it was such a humbling and incredibly emotional process to go through. What I can say is that I was really blessed. I was blessed because throughout my formative years, I always had people along the way, who were there for me as siblings, as family. And it was all, when they all came to the birthday party and I looked around me, there were people I hadn't seen for 40 years, 45 years. It was so interesting seeing everybody. And I remembered the journey we went through. I had an amazing childhood. My parents provided, my mother in particular, I wasn't a child who lacked. People would say I was a child who was actually quite a bit spoiled. I don't know what spoiled means in that way, but in terms of being an only child,
DB. Sort of.
But I had an amazing childhood. I had some challenges growing up, which were more internally driven.
Okay.
I don't know whether it came out of being an only child, but I was a sort of a people's pleaser when I was younger, and I think it was because I wanted people to like me. The idea that I didn't have siblings, I wanted people to like me, and so I was the one who would always make allowances, for people. I was the one who really wanted to be liked by everybody. And when I look back, yes, there were a few insecurities there.
Didn't mind, giving up your lunch so that somebody would be happy.
Yes, I was that one who would give you my lunch, and when I look back, I was like, because I wanted you to like me, kind of thing. It's interesting, isn't it, at that age?
Yeah.
And then also, in terms of growing up, as Africans, there are styles of my mother, bless her, being the wonderful mother she was also young when she had me.
Yeah.
So I'd inherited a style of parenting, which I now challenge. And I think a lot of Ghanaians can resonate with this. It's strict. In an attempt to make you succeed, they can be a bit critical.
That's true.
Right? And you're this, and you are too naughty, you're this, and you're not going to do this, and you're not, and not. But if being a parent now, I can understand that parents they mean well.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes the approach in doing it can lead to a child becoming very insecure in themselves, particularly when you're growing up with a family where they're children. This thing about pitching them together.
Yeah.
Okay, so your brother gets A's in this.
Why
so
are you not getting
you're
A?
not
Yeah.
getting A in this? So I was pitched against some of my cousins, actually, because I was a very smart kid, but I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and I found school boring.
How so?
I mean, the style of teaching wasn't allowing me to explore. It was this, you have to learn. I'm that child who, if you say 1 + 1 is 2, I'm like, is it always the case?
Yeah.
That 1 + 1 will be 2?
Wouldn't there be an instance where,
instances where 1 + 1 may not be 2. I had a very analytical, inquiring mind, and the schooling system in Ghana really didn't support that. The teacher expected you to just sit there and listen. I say this, and then when you come to writing the exam, say that back to me. And I clearly wasn't that. So I struggled a bit. And then when you talk back, they tell you,
the word I was going to use the word. Did you challenge
Yeah.
this system at any point?
I tried to.
You tried
and then
to.
I got into home and I got into trouble.
They will call your parents or to the school, or call your mom to the school.
And then my mother, God bless her, she always wanted, when you're a single mother raising a child, you want the child to be a perfect child.
That's true.
So in an attempt to make me that perfect child, she was extremely critical. And I know she didn't mean it. I mean, at some point I thought she did. But when I look back now, and to say that, when I had my children, I almost started that. My children will tell you, actually, she did start that. I did that a bit. But then I learned to change my. So, the words are very important.
True.
And the words that we speak about ourselves and the words that people speak about us, particularly in the formative years when you're growing up, has a big impact. And we don't realize that.
We don't realize these things.
Okay, so I like to go out to the clubs and dance, and then I'm labeled from other cousins and parents who thought, why is she, although she's a bad girl, simply because I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I certainly wasn't having sex. I was just a child who wanted to express themselves musically, and I had that platform to do that. But there were people who sort of looked at me and would have thought, why is her mother allowing her to,
this, yeah.
But that wasn't the case. So. It was a strange, but overall, I had an amazing upbringing. Yes,
that sounds fun. With all the things you were exposed to, I mean, you still. My thing is, you see, people don't realize that when you liberate children, and you still guide them from afar, you allow them to explore while they are awake.
Yes.
And so a lot of them would. I mean, the system where teachers are not really allowing the students to really understand why things are the way they are, but just expect them to understand what they are telling them and then give it back to them if they ask. People can't explore.
No.
And so in the case where they try to explore, they do worse because they weren't really informed about what it is that they were doing. So I feel you had a great time growing up. Did you have any role models growing up? Anybody you looked up to? Particularly somebody you looked at and said,
oh yes,
I really
quite
want
a
to be
few.
like this
my
person.
mother being one of them. I think for different aspects of my personality and the characteristics that I have, managed to be able to hone, which have developed me to this point. My mother certainly would have been I don't think I would have said, if you had asked me then who was my role model, I would not have mentioned my mother, because I thought, she was so strict and whatever. But my mother is a very tenacious woman, ambitious, and when she's focused on doing something, that's never say, she raised me, did what she had to do. So I definitely wouldn't say my mother was one of my my mentors. And then I had uncles, one very distinguished lawyer, Samuel Kujeto. Another distinguished lawyer, Nutifafa Kwenye here, who, doing and they were people that I looked up to immensely. Then there were, I picked from role models, and then of course I can't say that without mentioning the likes of Ricky Osei, of course, who in the fashion world, I was very interested in fashion.
Reggie's dad?
That's Reggie's dad. So, at the time, we didn't have a lot of creative people, and he had stepped out and done something quite innovative. So I definitely consider him one of my role models. And then typically Bill Cosby.
How?
I don't know, because I watched the Cosby Show. Interestingly, and so most of the other role models came from entertainment, out there. I don't think I had any other. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds like quite a fair list.
It is a fair list.
Yeah. I also want to find out. I mean, you mentioned along the line that at some point, because you love dancing so much, you wanted to be a dancer professionally.
Yes.
What career path did you want to thread? I mean, where did you see yourself professionally?
I wanted to be a musician.
A musician?
Yes.
Wow.
I used to sing, actually. Those who went to primary school with me will not be surprised that I do what I do for entertainment, because when I was young, I used to dance, cultural dancing, of course, and then try and do a little bit of, the normal break dance, whatever, but I wasn't that good at it. But I did have a good voice. It was in a choir, did bits and pieces. Don't ask me where that voice has gone. But, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. I mean, there have been times when I've actually recorded myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I used to have a good voice when I was younger.
Do you remember any of the songs you used to really love and could sing back then?
Oh, no, not really. I'm not really good at names of songs. I was definitely into the Jackson family.
So do you remember any Michael Jackson song that...
I was into... what's this woman's name?
Tina Turner?
Not as much Tina Turner than the other one. Whitney's Dionne Warwick.
Okay, Dionne Warwick.
Dionne Warwick. And then the other lady. I can't remember. But, that generation of musicians, I think everyone, I mean, my house was full of music. So I remember every Sunday... And Saturday, I think, my mom will put on James Last, and you wake up to music in the house. So old school music and all the greats we used to listen to. So
I still want to hear you sing.
Oh, don't do that. Hey, my credibility.
For the musicians come out, you to tell you. We're going to come back next time, right?
What I want to do is learn how to rap, actually. You should tell.
Did you have any rap songs? I can tell us for you.
Money Love. Money Love. I used to rap to that.
That one?
Yeah.
So
I have a few friends who may be listening today who will tell you that I used to. Yes, Money Love and Queen Latifah and yeah. I went through that whole stage of
MC Light.
MC Light, that's the one now. MC Light.
Keep on keeping on.
That's it. Yes.
Wow, very interesting. Anyways, let's talk about the family life, the family bit of your life. At age 22, I'm told you decided to get married.
I don't know. I won't say decide was the word.
You got married.
Yes, I had a child.
You had a child. Was that the original plan, or you simply got swept off your feet by a good man?
Swept off would not be
the word.
Good man, maybe at the time. Still a good man. Sorry. No, it was just one of those things.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
I don't know whether it was, I got pregnant, met a guy. I wasn't really much of a dating person. I still am not, really.
Oh, yeah?
No, not really. Okay. I don't have that. Yeah, I still am. Let me just leave that one. But I met someone, started dating, got pregnant with my daughter, then automatically had to get married. I wouldn't say that it was the birth of my child that
got you
to get married, but it sort of influenced it.
It felt right at that moment.
It felt it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
I like to put it that way. Once you have children, you want to raise them in a family setting. So I had, so that's how I got married, very early. I wouldn't recommend that.
Why?
I think we're too young to know what we're doing at that age. There are few people who meet people at that age who it works. But you don't even know yourself well at that age to be able to say, I know myself enough to, So I wouldn't, this
So is it right to say it wasn't the plan?
It definitely wasn't the plan.
Wasn't the plan, okay.
It definitely wasn't the plan, but it happened. And when it happens, you make the most of it. And don't get me wrong. And during the period of the marriage, we did make the most of it. So it was a good marriage. It wasn't that it was I was forced into marriage or whatever. I mean, at all.
Wow. Somewhere along the line, you went back to uni.
Yes.
How many children did you have then, and how did you manage to keep your feet on the ground?
Okay. So when I went to the UK, my parents expected me to read medicine. So I was actually a science student.
Like your dad did?
Yeah. My mother wanted me to be like my dad. I don't like the sight of blood. I don't even like needles. So the idea of being a medical doctor didn't really. But I was a science student for O levels and A levels. And then I got to the UK and then decided that I wanted to explore a bit more. So I worked in retail.
Wow.
My first ever job was with Harrods, the international renowned shop in London, which was a big thing because at the time Harrods wasn't even employing a lot of black people. So it was a huge thing to work in Harrods, but it allowed me to work. I was a buyer's assistant, worked in Harrods and fashion. So that's where the creative side of me, I wanted to explore that. And of course, at that time, I became the black sheep of the family because your parents have invested so much in putting you into the right schools, and then you decide to go and work in Harrods and retail and do fashion and all of that. But that's where the stubborn me comes in. I've got the silent stubbornness that if I set my eyes on something, I'm going to do it. And so I then did that, and then of course got married. And once you get married, you have to pay the bills. So it was when I had my second one that I realized that I wanted the best for them. I wanted to put my children through private school in England. I had benefited from private education. I thought I wanted to set my children up well. And I realized that, look, on this kind of salary, it was going to be difficult. So then I decided that, look, it was time. And I think also because I had my children, then suddenly for me, I always say that I grew up through my children. My kids were the reason where I grew up. I was a little spoiled, and had everything done for me. Was that child who had things on a silver platter. But when I had my children, something changed in me, and I wanted to be the best for my children. So the best also included being the best role model for my children. So I decided to go back to university.
Is it fair to say that, you were living you were comfortable, but when the kids came in, when your children came in, you realized you had to make them comfortable as well.
Exactly.
So you had to push an extra.
And I had aspirations for my children. I didn't have aspirations that I wanted somebody to become a medical doctor or whatever. No, because based on my background, I definitely didn't want that scenario for my children. But I had aspirations that whatever my child wanted to be, I was going to provide the right environment and structures for them to make it happen. And that definitely included being able to afford certain things.
Wow.
So it inspired me to go back to university.
You touched on salary, the salary you were earning not being enough to give them the lives that you wanted them to get. Do you remember your first salary?
Ew.
And was your job at Harrods your first experience at work?
Yes, it was my first experience at full-time work.
Full-time work.
I did little bits and pieces, the summer jobs. Actually, no, Harrods was not my first.
It wasn't your first?
No. During sixth form, I used to work in a clothing factory. At the time in London, they called it, you go and, when they manufacture the clothes, and then there are people who have to pull the sort of clean the clothes and then bag them. So they had these factories, and a lot of students over the summer, I think in Ghanaian they used to call it ahomatete or something.
Okay.
I don't remember what it is, in the UK. So during the summer, you find that a lot of, and even students from Ghana or kids from Ghana who were going there on summer vacations will find ourselves in these factories working for a little bit of money. So that was the first. So my first real full-time job was Harrods.
Okay, so your job at the Homatete company, were you paid in cash or you got clothes?
It was cash, please.
It was cash.
Yeah,
and a lot of clothes.
Cash in hand. And a lot of clothes. and then not a lot of clothes. You were very nice to the supervisor. Actually, well, yes, very true. It was very nice to the supervisor. Then you'd be lucky that some of the clothes that are not, they think it's not good enough to be on the shop floor. You could give it to you at a discount or something. And I was very slim then, so I had to get away with quite a bit and pick up some stuff. Yeah.
Wow, sounds interesting.
It was. In Croydon, I remember this.
Yeah. So eventually, you were blessed with 6 children.
Yes.
Just how fulfilling was that? And tell us the experience. I mean, you've told us about your first child, where the second one came in. Tell us about the rest.
Okay, so apparently when I was younger, I used to say I'll have 6 children.
Is it?
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yes. So the words of your mouth, what you say about yourself, be careful.
You might just get it.
I used to, and I think it was because I was an only child, and one of my favorite movies of time was Sound of Music.
Okay.
I literally used to. You have not what?
Have you, Chris?
You have not seen Sound of Music, Rev?
I might. Maybe I have.
What are you talking about? Listen, I'm going to have to come back and we watch it together live.
We will.
So Sound of Music was my favorite, and I used to watch it. And I think I like the idea of a big family, and also because I was an only child, I like that idea of a big family. I certainly don't remember saying that, but people would remind me, and very close people, just not one person, close family would say, but I used to say you have 6 children. I was also an avid reader of the famous 5 and Secret 7. In the Lighting books. Yeah. And so I think that whole imagination of the big clans and people moving together, so that must have influenced I didn't decide to have 6 children, I must say, though. And I'm also Catholic.
Wow.
I say something.
Wow. No, I'm sitting back now and thinking how you loved, you mentioned Bill Cosby along the line, and you couldn't even understand why. But then, he was like the head of a big family, allowed them to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah,
He was like the best friend. And
yes. So do you see what I'm realizing is that we don't we underestimate imagery and what we're exposed to, right? Because from what I'm saying now, my upbringing, I was glued to these TV stations, watching these programs, reading these books, and in a funny sort of way, my life was shaped through these mediums.
Wow. These are things I feel we barely pay attention to. Yes. But then if we had the chance to really sit and break down why we love the things we love, it would all make sense.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, there was a very down moment for you. I heard somewhere that at some point you had to battle cancer.
Yes.
When the news came up, how did you receive it? How did the family receive it? What state of mind were you in?
Okay, so just a little bit of history. I had, at the time, decided to move. I had 6 children. And paying for education in the UK was getting a little bit too much. And also, I felt that my children needed the same upbringing that I had, which is exposure for living in Ghana, that rich experience of knowing where you're coming from. So I made a decision with my then husband to move to Ghana. And then as soon as I moved to Ghana, there were challenges. There were all sorts of challenges in the marriage and all of that. And then I got diagnosed. I remember exactly where I was when the diagnosis came. So what had happened was I was working on the Ghana Airways liquidation, advising on the Ghana Airways liquidation, and I used to travel quite a bit to London as a result of that. We had a house sitter in our home. So when I'd go, one of my children had eczema. So she was on a repeat prescription of Oilatum and some other products. And so every time I went to London, I'll go to the surgery and order the prescription so I could bring it back. So I went to the surgery, and we used to live at the time in Wellingborough, which was outside London. We were probably one or few families who were Ghanaians or Africans in that region. The fact that I had 6 children also meant that we were quite known. And so the local surgery, I was very close to them. And so I'd go there, and I met with the nurse, like, where are the children, how are they doing, and all of that. Then she mentioned, have you done a smear test recently? I'm like, I don't remember last time I did a smear test. She said, oh, you need to. You also need to have yourself examined. So she pulled me into her office, and I said, I don't know how to do the breast examination. So she pulled me into the office, had me stand back, and then raise my hand, and she showed me how to, and then she felt that she found a lump. So she's like, oh, I think I can feel. Anyway, how long are you here for? And I had another 3 days or so. So I sort of will come to London, do my meetings, and then spend maybe 3 or 4 days, go back to my home. At the time, the home, I'd given to a house sitter who was managing it for me. And so I left and came. And then this very day that I got the news, I got a call from the house sitter. A young guy said, you've got a few phone calls from Gold Street Medical Center, and they said it's urgent, can you call them back? So I called them, and that's when I panicked a bit. So I called them back, and lady then told me that the results had come out and the lump was cancerous. Wow. And I remember exactly where I was when it happened. I think I literally went totally blank for at least 5 minutes. And then I went into shock mode a little bit. Wow. Then I went into operational mode, which was, oh my God, okay, I have 6 children.
What happens to them?
What happens? And then, interestingly, I started looking at my stocks and shares and my assets, and then realized that even though I was a lawyer, I didn't really have a will. So please, get a will. Didn't have a will. And I didn't tell anybody.
Why?
For about a week. I found out about myself that sometimes I need to, or most times, I need the inner strength to deal with situations. I have a strong faith, and there's another thing that my parents instilled in me, is this confident faith in God. I'm a Catholic, nothing special, but at a very young stage, I was introduced to faith, and so I knew how to pray, but I needed to have that inner strength to deal with situations. So when I'm faced with things like that, I go inwardly. And once I gather that faith, I tell people, because when you tell people too early, sometimes they can discourage you and they can set the tone for how you deal with it. Yeah. You know, and I'm a bit of a fighter. So once I think the next day I pulled out of course, started Googling cancer symptoms, prognosis, chances. And I also educated myself about it. And, then I called them back, started asking questions, the size of the lump. And I literally was first stage. So it was pretty small. It wasn't bad. And then I booked a flight and went back to London, decided I wanted a second opinion. So booked for private screening, and it was confirmed. Then I also decided that, okay, I needed to do treatment. So I think I told my mother in the second week. And then
after you had found
ways around it. And I'm like, no, because I needed to be able to, I'm like, so I remember when I told my mom, she was so shocked, her reaction, I'm like, I'm going to be okay. But it was a dark moment, particularly because at that same time I had separated from my husband at the time, and the children were going through a process, and you had just moved to Ghana. So you pray about things, you make a decision, and you think you've made the right decision, and then you get here and everything just you are thinking, goes south. What's going on? Yeah. So it was a dark moment. But out of that dark moment, a lot of great things came out.
Did it change? I mean, you mentioned that it was during the same time you were separating from your husband back then. Did it change the way through which the family, functioned? How were they affected by the news?
In actual fact, I had separated. He had asked him to move out of the house a month before the diagnosis. So the children were already with me. He was out. Then he left the country. So in that sense, it didn't really change much. What it did change was definitely the way I relate to my children. It also changed how I thought about myself and life and my focus and priorities in life. Because when you're faced with death, the possibility that I could die, certain things become irrelevant. And that is where, for me, the cancer journey was the reason I decided I needed to be authentic and be who I was. I don't tell you a story about how when I was in London at that time, I even became bankrupt at the time because I was living for people.
You became bankrupt?
Oh, yes, at the age of 23. I was bankrupt at the age of 23.
A year after you got married?
A year after I got married, because I was keeping up appearances, innit?
Wow.
You're exposed to working in the big shop like that. You want the best for everything, and then you're masking your credit card, and you do all the foolish things that you do at that age. And but cancer was definitely responsible for getting me out of that and realizing that, look, this is me. Take me as you are. And I didn't want to live for anybody anymore. It changed my relationship with my children, and it changed my focus, like value people. You never know where they are gone. So it did change.
Is it fair if we describe that experience, the one that you just tagged a dark moment, as a wake-up call to you becoming who you really are? To you achieving all these things?
Yes.
Because I'm sure,
It definitely, I was definitely an achiever. I had goals, I had ambitions, but it went overdrive mode after that. Because I said to myself, I have I sat down with God and I pleaded with God that You've given me 6 children. I prayed for 6 children. You're not taking me out. And so when I felt like, and being Christian, that's what, when I felt like I had been given another chance, I thought, okay, now let's get this. There's a reason why I'm here. Before, I go down there, I should have achieved. And every talent, every opportunity that I'm given, every person that I meet, I need to appreciate those opportunities and give it the best, because I may not have had that chance. If I really, didn't survive it, then I'd have gone down there with my talents and all those abilities and skills and opportunities. I've just wasted it on foolishness. And we often waste our time on so much foolishness,
Wow.
in life. It doesn't, so I set out to achieve.
Inspiring, I must say, honestly. I didn't know it was gonna get this deep, but I mean, after you picked up from all those, at what point did you decide, okay, now my life is back to normal, I have to go back to doing the things that I wanted to do, children are there, everything is fine? I mean, at what point did the flame of hope get rekindled? At what point did it go back to the normal flame?
So I was cancer free. I mean, I've had cancer twice, so then the first time cancer free just before my 40th birthday.
Wow.
So when I turned 40, that's when I came out. I'm like, okay, new me. Included me going natural. And I'm not saying that you have to go natural to be authentic or me. I said, for me, it was a journey. Embracing my Africanness, embracing who I was as a person. My mindset changed. And I used 40 as the stepping stone into life actually begins at 40, and change my mindset.
Wow.
And then just embrace who I was, that I'm different, because society wants to pull you in both directions. You're a lawyer, so you can't do this. I remember when I entered entertainment, I was doing a lot of entertainment work. I had people saying, but why are you such a serious lawyer working with entertainment? I'm like, forget it. I'm who I am, and I have to embrace my differences. We're all individuals. We don't want to be like the next person, So I just suddenly, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, stepped out into a new person. I really believe that 40 was a new dawn. When I thought, okay, I'm going to be who I am. And I haven't looked back since.
You haven't looked back, but when you ever do you regret, or do you wish God had given you a different, would it be 17 years from age 23 to 40? Would you have wished for a different experience?
Never.
Never.
Because the experiences I went through have shaped me. Every single experience that I went through, every single job that I did, every single person that I encountered, whether it was good or bad, was part of the journey.
Wow.
In me becoming what I am today and will be in the future. And we oftentimes there are no regrets whatsoever. My marriage I don't regret it. I certainly don't regret having those 6 children. I don't regret being bankrupt. I don't regret anything don't regret anything. Any persons that I've come into contact with, even the people that at the time I felt, oh my God, I wish I didn't meet these people. Never. I look back because it makes sense now.
Yeah.
There's always a lesson in that opportunity or journey or that encounter, right? And if you think about it, you may have lost that job,
but that is why you're
because
here.
You needed to move on.
Yeah.
And God was giving you the signs. You were sitting there saying, no, I don't want to go. And He kicks you out anyway, or He allows somebody to kick you out. Once you get fired from that, you realize that I have this talent that I need to, So even COVID, we started this conversation by talking about COVID.
Yeah.
COVID has had an adverse effect on many people, but COVID has also brought an opportunity for people to reinvent themselves and rebirth for many of us.
Rebirth.
Because we've had to think the most difficult part was a lockdown for me.
Yeah.
Because I usually would go to my children in London. I was working on a project, so I could not leave. And the announcement was made on Thursday. I tried to get out of it. And then being at home 3 weeks.
That was the first one.
Hey, I had to, the difficult thing, I had to look within. Because a lot of us also latch on to different things because we don't want to deal with situations in our life. But COVID allowed me to sit on one place. I couldn't go to the office.
You have to stay.
I stay. And I even developed a few more skills. So as a project I'm working on, I actually did some classes and courses in script writing.
Wow.
I'll tell you about that later.
We'll talk about that later, obviously. Wow. I love this experience, I must say. Guys, shouts going out to all of the guys watching us on Facebook. Draft Tony says, wonderful, keep it up. ING Ofori Deborah is also watching. A good one going out to Lukman Evergreen Mumi. The Team Wiley the Board series on Facebook, Twitter. What's up? Shouts going out to all of them. Motopia says, permed hair, zero permed hair. Natural hair. Okay, so zero permed hair against natural hair.
No, I beg you, it's not that.
Utopia is creating a fight already. Anyways, it's 52 past 10 in about 8 minutes, branching into the third and final hour of the show. At this point, if you have a message for us, 02022222073, whatever it is that you think, Auntie Cynthia Quarcoo must know, send it in. We're ready to read all that. Cynthia, at what point in your life did you decide to branch out of, the norm, business-wise, and do your own thing? I mean, how you started CQ Legal. At what point, or at what year?
I've had previous firms. So when I came to liquidate Ghana Airways, was called to the bar here in Ghana, I set up my first firm called Fountain Chambers.
Okay.
And then I merged with another law firm. And then I had to move back to England in 2012.
Okay.
For family reasons. And then worked in England. But I always wanted to come back to Ghana. I really believe in the African continent and my country, Ghana. And I felt that every skill that I've learnt out there, I needed to come back and contribute to the development of my nation. I'm also increasingly becoming aware that I am an empowerer of people. I have a very good synergy and relationship with the youth, because I like to think that I'm very youth-oriented in my thinking. Young at heart. And I do like to see the best in people. So grooming people, empowering people comes naturally. So setting up CQ Legal, I thought, look, we have such talented young people on this planet, on this continent of Ghana, this country, Ghana. When I worked in the West, on huge transactions in the West, you find very young, smart lawyers who are advising on the deals. And we could do the same from here. Our educational system, I think, needs to change in the way we educate our youth. We need to give them a voice. We need to understand that they have a contribution to make. They need to have a seat at the table. And the only way we can do that is, it's great to have the academics, but it's also great to have the practical experience and the other interpersonal skills you need to move you to the next level.
That's true.
Okay. So I like to think that CQ Legal has been set up for the millennials. The approach that we have is for that. And I do enjoy grooming young people. I do it naturally in all areas, Africa One Media, whatever. But the idea is to be able to use my experience, the knowledge that I have, the platforms that I have, to be able to groom or contribute towards the development and growth of the next generation of lawyers.
Wow. So how long has it been in operation?
So CQ Legal was actually set up in 2013 when I left the country, and I needed to create a vehicle to do consultancy work on my own. The idea of rebranding the firm came in 2016 when I had to leave another international firm, and at that time I had spoken to my children about coming back to Ghana, because I took my kids back, settled them, but my kids always knew that my heart was here. So in 2016 I started conceptualizing the idea of CQ Legal, rebranding it and opening it, and I moved in and set it up. I think 2017 we set it up.
Wow. So far so good.
So far, we've been blessed. We've been blessed in the sense that we're growing steadily. We've had some amazing projects that we've advised on, which has allowed us to be able to break in. There's still a lot of work to do, but we're fortunate. I mean, I'm told that when you mention law firms, we pretty much will make a list. I don't know how what list, but
you definitely know we're in there somewhere.
We're somewhere. We can just continue to build on that. Okay. And so we're doing well. We're blessed.
Okay. Yes. Let's backtrack a little bit. I mean, you started off as an entrepreneur, and at what point, right, did you decide to get off working for people? I mean, you mentioned that you had worked with a few firms before. You had done, PwC and all that. What even advised your decision to set out and do something on your own?
I think I've always been an entrepreneur, and I think I've always been an individual when it comes to thinking and the vision. When I want to do something, sometimes it's very difficult to articulate it. I set myself up and I achieve it. In terms of my career, I trained as a barrister. Barristers are actually self-employed. We're not, that obviously was the path that I chose. But I also believe that, I have so many ideas and visions and things I wanted to do. It would have been very difficult doing them working for someone, right? So it just was I don't think it was something that I thought about, but it just happened because I've always been an entrepreneur. I didn't even realize I was an entrepreneur. Ever since I had these children, I have experiences of using my grant money, because when you're in the UK and you go back to university, you're given some money as a loan or a grant. And I wanted to double this amount, and I would literally travel to the US, go and buy designer wear, because in the US it was cheaper, so you could get maybe an Oshkosh Bigosh for $20, and it's sold in London for £20. And if you look at the exchange rate, it was more. Yeah. And I would, to shop for my children, and I would sell these things. I set up a supplementary school because I was teaching children at home. So I've always been the kind of person who's got the idea for business. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm the person that implements everything, but I have a gift for...
You just have a gift of bringing them together.
Exactly. And guiding the process and pushing it to its realization. So I think that is something that I was born with.
Wow. Describe your most challenging career moment for you as a mom as well. Which situation would you describe as the most challenging? I mean, you've touched on a few we think are challenging, but to you personally?
I think whenever I have to make a choice between my career and my children, a decision. So the most recent one would have been the pandemic. Being here and my children being in the UK, and they're not children anyway. I've got 6, but the oldest is 27.
Wow.
The last is 17. But having to make you're still a mother at heart. So every time, when the announcement was made, and I realized that there was no way I could be in the UK, and I had to be here. My kids understood it. I'm also high risk, so my kids insisted on me not coming, said you're better off in Ghana. But as a mother, it's heart-wrenching to know that there's this danger out there and you're not there to protect your children. But interestingly, I'm a very overpossessive mother.
Okay.
See, I'm that mother, and I'm sure my children are watching, so I better tell the truth. I'm that mother who, if you go out and your battery dies, and I'm trying to reach you and I can't reach you, the whole world will hear about it. Because I go into a panic. I really think, oh my God, something has happened. Something really bad has happened to my children. Something. I'm overprotective. And I also think that the situation as it is happened because there was a lesson in that I needed to let go. Because trust me, I haven't seen my children since January, but they've survived, right? And so that fear of I have to be there all the time and letting go of them to grow up, even in this situation, I've learned something from there, that if they can survive the pandemic,
it means they are good on their own.
Good on their own. So I need to start cutting the apron strings. I'm already suffering from empty nest, syndrome type thing. But they're not children anymore. 27, 25, 22, 19, 18, and 17. They're not kids. It comes to a point where I need to let go. So
I laughed because I sort of like relate.
You do?
I'm 28 and my mom still thinks I can survive.
Yes, no, we don't.
So throughout this COVID-19 period, I mean, she would call me. So funny enough, there was a funeral in our hometown she had to attend, and the plan was to go and come back after 2 weeks, and the lockdown was pronounced. So we told her, you know what? She was trying to, I'm like, you see, stay there, be fine. You're going to be okay there. But then she would call you and say, but are you going to be okay? We're fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, the lockdown has gone and come. We're still back. I mean, COVID-19 is not gone, but we're still surviving and she's there.
For mothers, you wouldn't understand. As a mother thing, when you become a parent, you'll understand.
I will get it right.
Because I still do. And then my kids are like, can you just be okay? I mean, we haven't heard from him, but he's going to be okay. And I'm literally thinking the worst has happened. Somebody's driven over them. They're somewhere in a gutter somewhere. It's crazy.
Oh my days!
It's crazy.
Wow.
So the challenging moments is where I've always had to make a decision, which almost seems like having to make a choice between my career and my children. It's always heart-wrenching.
Wow. I want to talk about, or I want us to talk about your days in school doing law. Tell us about it. I mean, from our side, where I sit, law seems like a very difficult thing to do.
A lot of reading.
The years involved and all that. Were your days studying law difficult? How were they? Did you at any point feel like giving up? No?
No. Okay, so my first degree was in economics, so I didn't do the LLB. When I finished my first degree and decided to do law, I did a postgraduate diploma in law, which was actually a conversion course. And people say a lot more stressful because you're literally condensing a 3-year law degree in 1 year, right? And I'm also doing it whilst I had children.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I made a decision, actually I had my first encounter with law was when I was doing my first degree, and I took some free subjects in the business of law, enjoyed it, did very well in them actually. So I changed my focus from just economics and added business law to it. I love the law from day one. I did hate the reading.
Wow.
Yeah, I really did hate the reading.
You love the concept, but you hated how to get it.
I think it was just a bad habit.
Okay.
From primary school. I just hated reading that. But when I got into it, I realized that I needed to, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the analysis that comes with it. And the thing that I enjoyed about law is the setting of new precedent. It's challenging the status quo. So in areas of law where I'm allowed to be able to challenge the status quo, I've enjoyed
you
more.
Feel so empowered.
I feel it's almost as if you can't box it. People like to think that the law is what it is. Yes, within the law is what it is. But when it comes to setting up precedents, there's also an opportunity for you to make law. I like the idea of making law. The idea that there's case law on a certain subject, but a certain set of facts can influence a change in that mindset. I like the idea of pushing the envelope. Of doing that. So I do enjoy it. But that being said, I wouldn't say I'm a typical lawyer because I'm also business minded when it comes to the law. I explore, if I'm advising on a project, knowledge of the subject matter is more important to me. I think personally that you can't be a good lawyer advising in a particular realm. Let's use entertainment and media because that's what you guys work in. If I didn't know about entertainment and media, you can't provide good advice to your clients. You don't know about their business. So I do like the process of also engaging in the subject matter I'm advising on. So I'm that lawyer that if I was advising on a construction project, I'd probably want to the construction site to see what's going on, what happens. It allows me and enhances my ability to provide great legal advice. So.
Wow.
Yes.
From your experience, what are some of the challenges you see young women legal practitioners face, either on the personal level or professionally?
I think this doesn't just apply to lawyers or young lawyers. I think that society, a lot of young aspiring lawyers who come to me ask me one question: how do you combine being a lawyer and a successful one, according to them, with being a mother? And the idea that to progress within the legal field, you have to give up one. And oftentimes give up your career. And the concerns that once they start their legal careers, they might not be able to progress if they left to go and get married and had children. Those are concerns which borders on professional and personal life. So you find some who think that I can just be a lawyer and I want to achieve this level of success before I get married. And so the idea that I could combine both, it's something that I know that a lot of young professionals, lawyers in particular, deal with. The law is a male-dominated area. I haven't faced any sort of prejudices. I'm sure it's there. I personally haven't experienced any direct prejudices, but I've had a lot of people tell me, particularly young lawyers, female lawyers, tell me about their experiences within the legal profession. Generally, not just Ghana, but everywhere, where they felt that because it's sort of male-dominated, they've had challenges. So it's for me, it's workplace policies.
Okay.
Within my firm, for instance, I've always embraced the idea of remote working. In my staff handbook, from day one, we always had provision for people who want to go on maternity and also paternity leave. Because I'm a mother and I've had to raise children, and whilst working and studying, I understand.
You understand, so you apply it to your workspace as well.
Support given to young people throughout their legal careers. And also just being there to guide them through the difficulties that they may have, whether it's financial, whatever it is. But in terms of being able to create a family and work, I definitely have embraced that within my firm to ensure that if a young lawyer comes to me and is working with me and has to go off to go and have a family, we should be able to support them, whether we support them through part-time working, flexible working from home, giving them longer periods for them to settle and take care of their young family and return to work policies to support them in that way. And I think it's just generally, it's not just about the legal profession, it's just generally we need to support and men also, in terms of, we have a paternity leave policy within the firm that if somebody's wife gave birth, would give you a period of time off if you needed it, if you had to work from home. And now that the pandemic has sort of, re-emphasized the importance of going digital, I think that has helped us also a lot in terms of creating a digital a work environment for people to be able to work from home. When the pandemic came, we started off, even before the lockdown, we were working from home before the official lockdown, and then after the official lockdown, we sort of, came back to work, starting with 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and then added the fourth week. And until recently, I think this week is the first week that we came back to full-time working within our firm. But we've been able to put in place systems that allow us cloud and having data management outside to allow that if somebody called in today and said I can't work, so long as you're delivering, so I think a lot more workplace policies would help young women particularly, and also having other women who act as mentors for them within the legal profession.
That's true.
Is definitely something that is important.
That's true. All right. What was the establishment of African One Media born out of? We want to know, all of us.
Africa One Media, I'll go back to, I think at the beginning of the interview, I mentioned some names. So Africa One Media, I do credit Reggie Rockstone, being a childhood friend of mine, was very interested in entertainment from a very young age. When I moved back to Ghana, I hung out with him quite a bit. We're very good friends. So he would introduce me to artists. And at the time, it used to really get on my nerves. I used to say things like, we go out and you be, this is my lawyer. And I'm thinking, this is Cynthia. Why do you have, this is not working hours. Why do you have to mention my name? But what he was doing was, and Reggie has always been very passionate and still very passionate about the entertainment world. And I remember having a conversation with him when he said, Charlie, you need to help my people. And what he meant by helping my people was that there weren't a lot of dedicated lawyers to the entertainment world at that time. And of course, entertainers needed a lot of legal input. And so by introducing me to, I think the first ever artist that he introduced me to was Asem. And then Kwalkesi.
Asem the rapper.
Yes. Yeah. And then I started providing them with legal advice on different things, pro bono. And at the same time, my first associate, who is now the Ghanaian High Commissioner to India, His Excellency Michael Quay Jr., was my first ever intake. At the time, was also very interested in entertainment. In actual fact, he was responsible for putting together the Fat Joe and Omarion concert.
Yes, I remember.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And so, because he showed that, and his cousin is Hammer. Last
I'm the producer.
Exactly. So within a short time, I started getting a lot of these artists coming to me, and in the evenings would give them advice. And then, of course, there was an emergence of endorsement deals with Glow and all the Vodafones at the time. So I started providing free legal advice, and I realized that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just supporting them. So the turn came for me, and then again, Reggie had. With Lillian Blankson, a Ghanaian who used to work for BET International, shot the first cypher.
I remember.
BET cypher. And I was having a barbecue at home. I live in Tessano at the time, and Lillian's mother's house is in Tessano. And they were shooting the BET cypher on that day. So Reggie was there and then called me and said, Charlie, the boys are hungry. Can we bring them over to come and eat? I'm like, yeah, that's food. So in walks everybody. You can imagine a barbecue with my children there.
All of them.
In walks Kwabna, Sarkodie,
Baby G was on there as well.
Yeah. Everybody. And I didn't know Sark then. I had heard his songs, but I didn't know who he was. And of course, as soon as he entered, all the kids and teenagers went completely like, what's a Sarkodie? So Sarkodie and I spoke. We had a chat. He took my number. My daughter's school also wanted to invite him to a prom. So we had our first meeting at Rhapsodies.
Just here, there.
Yeah, so you see why this whole building is like very
home.
sentimental. So we met at Rhapsodies, and he agreed to surprise them for this prom.
Wow.
And then we started working together. So I always credit Sarkodie for being the person that turned this around. I became his lawyer, again pro bono for a very long time. I loved what I was doing, advice, everybody from Chiame Kwame to Edem, quite a few, but all of it I did it for the love of it. I wanted to support. And I realized that, look, there has to be an ecosystem at some point to make this industry grow. And I wanted to be part of that ecosystem, and by supporting to create structures. And one of the most important pillars for developing an industry is legal advice and the affiliated advisory services. So that's how it started.
That's how it started.
So Sarkodie came along, and then Sarkodie sort of moved the relationship into more of a professional relationship, retained me as his lawyer. And then I moved back to the UK. So when I moved back to the UK, I remember telling Sark, Sark would still fly me into Ghana to come and advise him on projects. And then I started to think that, look, Africa One Media, the idea to do it, I had started to talk about to Reggie, to Panji, to Eric Donatha, a few people about the idea of setting it up as a professional services firm that provides legal counsel, business advisory counsel, strategy. Because I realized that there was a bit of a gap. Creatives are creatives and not business people. Let's take it that. I mean, there are few creatives who are business people. I mean, D Black, I can say, is one of them, right? But there are a lot of creators who just want to create. They're not interested in the business side
just
of
want
it.
to stay in their corner and do their thing.
But to grow an industry and to grow a brand, you have to need both.
True.
And my business strategy background and having worked with PwC and all of that also came to the forefront. So I noticed that I wasn't just given legal advice, I was also given business advice. So I thought, you know what? It would be cool to set up a firm that can give both, just for creative people, sports people, advise them on their brands and all of that. So Africa One Media was birthed, and it was birthed because I felt that I couldn't do what I was doing alone, and I needed to bring in a structure. I needed to bring in people. So I set it up, registered it. Actually, even before I did, I remember on one of my trips to Ghana, whilst I was working in the UK advising on a project here, I literally called all my key artists. I had a meeting with Bisa K there, Sarkodie, if I remember, Edem, and I shared the idea of Africa One Media with them. I think I may have also with Ochame Kwame, I can't remember. But I shared the idea with them and said, look, I'm thinking of doing this. And they gave me their support and said everything is an amazing thing to do. So we set it up, really focusing on that. But after that, the idea of management was pushed on us. So we've gone into a bit of artist management
as well.
But our core focus really is to create a platform. We're moving into trying to set up an incubator to support. I'm trying to get some fundraising going to be able to have a commercial fund set up, which will be able to help people within the creative sectors and sports sectors access that fund, with Africa One Media being the incubator that guides them to structure their businesses.
Wow.
So that's where we're going with Africa One.
So far, I mean, you just talked about how these key artists you've been working with have received it, but how has the industry itself, the creative arts community, how have they received Africa One Media since it was born?
I think we've enjoyed a lot of goodwill. I think sometimes a bit too much hype. To be honest, that scares me. I think that people have a lot of expectations. People have been rooting for us. Even those who have criticized us have done that for good reason. Because this thing was birthed and it's just grown, and so I'm still learning. There's just so many aspects of the business that I'm still learning, and so, but we've received, we're almost like, with me personally, if it's anything entertainment, people come to us and they give us that. I think sometimes they need to understand that we also grow. I think the success of the brands that we work with, Sako, Dia, Samini, has given people some impression that we're just a very small team of people. But one thing we have in common is a passion to change the face of entertainment in Ghana and make it credible, and also bridge the gap between entertainment and the corporate world. And I think we're doing that. We could do more.
You could do more.
We could do more. And what limits us is financing. In terms of, a lot of my own personal money has gone into Africa One Media. I didn't really set up Africa One Media to make money. I think the tagline for us is empowered to succeed. We want to empower people within the creative arts sector to succeed. And that is still what it is. So Africa One Media, it's not really a money-making tool, but in order to be able to be effective, we need to employ the right people. And sometimes it's been difficult because we don't have the funding. But we're moving into the next phase of Africa One Media to raise some funding to make this happen. So
kudos.
Let's go and get this right.
More power to your elbow.
Thank you. Thank you.
So throughout my journey as a radio broadcaster, I've heard people make comments.
Yes, sir.
Comments from industry players, from followers, from the regular people. People think the creative arts space here in Ghana is underdeveloped.
Yes.
As compared to others within the West African, region.
Yes.
Do you think this assertion is true? If it's true, what do you think are the sectors that need help? And what should be done generally?
Investment. We need to build ecosystems within the industry. Their structures are there, but we're not there's no synergy between them. But the key thing that is inhibiting the growth is investment. I work with artists. And sometimes it's so difficult for artists to be able to really fully realize the potential they have, because everything is money. You need somebody to put money behind you. If you want to shoot a video, we currently have just signed on to Sky Entertainment, which is owned by somebody within the corporate world who saw a young talent, Kwame Yogurt, and thought, I want to help this person. So actually set up the entertainment company for this, and if this goes well, would probably bring on board a few more. But this is somebody who had a passion and thought, I'm from the corporate world, I don't understand anything entertainment, and brought in Africa One Media and say, have more knowledge, come and do
set
this.
This up for us.
We need a lot of people to invest in our local talent. We need a lot more business people to take the steps to say, I want to develop this. And I'm not talking just entertainment, I'm talking dance, I'm talking fine art, I'm talking just the creative sector generally, the sports sector generally. There has to be some, people talk about government policy and all of those things, and they're all sorts of stakeholders, but we need to create an ecosystem. And the reason why we're looking to set up the fund is that the fund would then enable people to create an ecosystem. So we might choose one person who wants to set up a publishing company, for instance, and say, let's support this person doing that. A couple of record labels, all the various structures you need to make entertainment work. Our royalty system, that's a completely different conversation we need to have. How do artists make money? Is investment. The talent, listen, we have so many people who are talented. And this idea that everybody must go to school to become a medical doctor, and I know it's changing. Photographers. This generation is changing, but we need to invest in our youth. You know, not every child is going to become a medical. In fact, not every child should be a medical doctor. You know, we need to recognize that there's a need for producers, there's a need for editors, there's a need for journalists.
Makeup artists, everybody.
Look, I always say, look, why don't we turn our polytechnics and create syllabuses?
Well,
if I had the money, I'll set up a school after post 16 and do everything from radio editing to journalism to everything across, to sewing to drawing.
A lot of them are private funded and private based, and if that happens, the country has no stake in it, and so we can't really control and move it.
I personally think if I had to lobby government, and I'm going to get to that point where I will start lobbying, there has to be a change. Let's create a syllabus we already have existing polytechnics. Let's feed that. My son is a footballer.
Okay.
My son has been a sports person from when he was young. He actually came to play for Liberty Professionals here for 6 months. He went to sixth form, but he did the BTEC sports.
Okay.
My number 4 has not been has never been the academic type. Wants to do something in HR now. She went to the what we call the local colleges. They don't do A levels. They do the BTEC, H&D. Okay, practical based courses. Not everybody is good at writing exams.
That's true.
I mean, come on now. When I see people and I got an A, I know people that I went to university with, people who I grew up with, who were supposedly the smartest one, who today, if I compare me and them, we all different in how we learn.
Life, eh?
You know, getting an A grade is not a determination of what you're going to become in life. It's good to go to school, though. I'm not saying that don't go to school. There's a level of education that we all need in this age.
True.
But there are people who are just practical with their hands, and we need to encourage that more.
A lot has been said. I won't even lie. Guys, I'm still waiting for your questions. I mean, I have a lot of them in there. But if you want to join as well, hashtag Wiley the Boss Series gets you in. And Cynthia, what time do you wake up?
Hey, this question, this table you are shaking. Okay, it depends. I'm a bit of an insomniac.
I heard you don't sleep at all. You
don't
barely
do that.
sleep. He just whispered.
Okay, so I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest. It depends.
Okay.
So my typical day, it really depends. Sometimes I at least squeeze in 4 hours of sleep. I try.
You squeeze in. Wow.
Yeah, I squeeze in 4 hours minimum of sleep. My day could start off, and because I own my own firm, I can decide. I'd hate Mondays. So I don't go into work on Mondays if I don't have to. So I actually socialize on Sundays.
Okay.
Republic Bar. You find me at
That's your
Republic
Saturday,
Bar.
right?
No, Sundays.
I mean, Sundays
So I go and
are
sit
your
down with the
Saturdays.
owners and a few friends who have, and I probably will not come home till a bit late. And then I go to work at 12. It depends. I don't have a typical day.
Okay.
I don't have a typical
When
day.
you wake up, what's the first thing you do?
Do you want the truth, or you want the one that will make you look good?
Let's do the truth.
So I'm supposed to say I wake up in the morning and I say my prayers or something. No. So I wake up in the morning and I pick my phone.
That's the same thing I do.
It's terrible, huh? We need to change that. I pick up my phone and then I may go to WhatsApp first to check whether my children have texted me. And then I would usually, we have a group on the platform on WhatsApp. So I'll usually send a message, good morning, all good. And I'll go through my stuff and I'll go into Instagram. And then I try to go onto Facebook, because usually I'll have some messages. And then I try and do some prayers, but I usually do that when I'm exercising. So I have a treadmill, so I jump on my treadmill. I put in a bit of gospel music. I don't do it all the time. It's
not
how
all
I
the
feel.
time. So like a routine, not
No,
all
it's
the
not a
when
routine.
it comes.
And then I'll probably go into the kitchen, have some yogurt, and then my day starts.
It starts.
Yeah. You got me thinking, actually. Maybe I should have more of a structured day. I go with the flow. So today, for instance, I didn't have any meetings today. So from here, I'm thinking, should I go home or should I go to the office? I'll go to the office and give my lawyers a hug and do a bit of work and go home. I don't have a typical.
What do you do for fun if you're not working? I was looking for that fun bit in there. I mean,
I'm actually a fun person.
Okay.
I like to be, but as I've grown, I'm actually a lot more introverted than people know.
Okay.
I have a sort of perception that I'm extroverted, but I have a very core group of friends. So my tip, I don't really have a lot of people I socialize with. It's true, isn't it? I'm always at home. Why are you looking at me?
He doesn't have answers for you this morning.
I'm at home. But when I do socialize, one of my favorite places to go is Republic Bar. I love Republic Bar. And in the Republic Bar is just the synergy there. Like people you meet there, the mindset is so different. So I go and say, I know the owners very well. So I go and sit at Republic Bar and we have a chat. I'm a bit of a tomboy.
Wow.
So most of my friends are male.
Okay.
I like that. So we sit down and, hey, I listen to all the conversations. Sometimes I think they forget I'm there. So they talk about, I'm like, did you guys know I'm here? But it's nice to have conversations with people. We talk about everything from politics to their women to whatever. Jokes, we have fun, and then that's it. And then I chat a lot with some of my key friends on Facebook.
Do a little bit of Twitter. I see you do a lot on there.
I about Twitter. Yeah. So I actually joined. People are like, how come you all? My kids have told me not Snapchat. But one of these days,
you might just jump on there.
And I am on Snapchat, but I just don't use it. Right?
Start sending streaks and all that.
No, what streaks?
When you send a video, so you can record a video of your face. Well, I usually do my face. I'll just say hi.
Oh
how
no,
are
no,
you?
no!
And
I
then you
have
send
there's
it.
TikTok, but I'm on TikTok with a fake account.
Fake account. Oh wow!
Yes.
So people don't know it's you.
No. I just.
I'm sure you follow your workers there.
Yeah,
and
people are
monitor
crazy.
them.
Sorry, no, I'm not following any of my workers.
You don't.
And then I'm also on Instagram with a fake account because I noticed that when you're stalling with your own account, you're not going to go and like something. People will know you're following them. So I have this fake account and I go and I watch.
Oh my days!
It's so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good morning, now Shomen Noye says I'm enjoying the show. Yao Puni on Facebook says Rev. Seeing Madam Cynthia Quarcoo on here, my instincts tell me I know her in the public space, the screen specifically. Yes, she's on there. She's a star. I want to talk to you, sir. Kindly get close. I know this wasn't part of the plan.
Oh my God.
From Africa. Kindly draw the microphone for him. Please draw one of the microphones for him. Yes. Move that one for him. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That's what you ain't. You always have to set me up. What did you do this time?
He doesn't have a hand in this, I promise you.
Okay.
He doesn't have a hand in this. Boss, what's your name? Okay, I think we might have to use the next one. Or come close. Yeah, use that one in there. All right. Great. That should be fine. That should be fine for you. What's your name?
I'm Michael Senajansi.
Michael, what's your relation to...
Cynthia is first and foremost a mother to me.
Okay.
She's my boss. She's a mentor. She's a lot of things, actually.
What kind of leader is she?
She's a leader that will let you run with what you think you have.
Okay.
And be on the background and still correct you where you go wrong. But she's one who lets you run. When you have mistakes, she tell you this is where you went wrong. So she's a great boss. But sometimes
that's sometimes what I want to hear. I mean, today she's here, all right?
Yeah, sometimes
she's not gonna get mad whatsoever.
No.
I mean, just let it go.
Yeah.
Even if you get fired, I mean, we get job for you for this side.
Cynthia, if you work with Cynthia, you know she demands your 150%. Without that, you're not doing your work. And I started as an intern 3 years ago. She doesn't know this story, but when I entered her office, when I entered where Africa One Media is, I had a knee brace. I had gone for a surgery that I was wearing a knee brace. I was literally down on spirits. So my friend, who was her PA at the time, called me and said she needed a publicist. I studied PR in school. So I went there. Within 5 minutes, I have the job. Wow. So I start from internship. Today, I'm the head of operations for Africa One Media. 3 years down the line, we are doing... She talks about the hype that we receive, which I think we deserve it because sometimes we work hard. And sometimes the people we manage, it's not so easy to manage artists. And she herself, she's an artist. She doesn't know this. So we kind of manage her too. But it's been an amazing journey.
It's been an amazing journey.
We
right?
have amazing clients, and she's the mama bear of the group. When she wakes up in the morning, our WhatsApp groups, first thing, good morning. Then
She said it.
She'll go through, she scours the internet for news on her artists.
I stalk them, sorry.
Wow, with your fake account.
You see screenshots of, why is this being said? Why is this being said?
Oh, wow.
So she's very hands-on, and it's helped us a lot.
The inside stories are their mama ba. So that's I think the latest mama ba is Samini.
Wow.
What's up, Samini?
Charlie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for. I mean, those were honest words, if you know.
Thank
Those
you
are
so
very
much.
honest. I mean, he didn't
Nani
expect
Rice
us to
or-
put him on.
Nani Rice.
And she has this thing, even though we've told her she doesn't have to get it, she still goes and eats nani rice.
Inosu.
Inosu. Well, shout out to all of
Also
them.
Market Kinke, please.
Yeah. That's your that should be your favorite food.
When
right?
is YFM going to do a show on the Osu Market?
We'll talk to Adible.
please,
He's right
let's do
behind.
that.
Yeah.
I'll come.
Yeah, we can even have the meeting right after this.
We
though.
should.
We can just make it happen. Anyways, I want to find out. I mean, you work with artists. You've seen the best. What would be your favorite song now? What is your favorite song now? I know you have a lot of songs.
Oh, lots of songs.
Which song would you describe as your favorite?
I think my all-time favorite would probably be
Hold on.
one that.
Hold on. Does it sound like this? Ganj? Does it sound? Would it be this? No? No?
Loud City Music.
Two
Is
of
that
my
it?
favorite on one track. So my own by Samini was really ushered Africa One Media. It was when Samini brought us that song. We said yes, let's roll. We can. So we then agreed to manage him. And of course, the what you're about to play was when Sarkodie, I think at a VGMA, did his rap version, and then I
Alright.
encouraged them to do So that's So Samini, Sarkodie, I mean, two of my favorites.
Wow. So
And
that is.
everybody else there, please.
Yeah,
Lisa,
you love all of them.
all of you. We're all, I'm sure people think I'm a bit partial to Sak
No, you're not.
and Samini, but I love everybody. I love everybody.
So let's enjoy this one as a remix. Samini, Sarkodie, and my own for Cynthia Quarcoo.
You're listening to The Wavy Man, Rev Erskine, on the Mid-Morning Show on Y.
So that is Love Rocks in the back. Samini, Sarkodie, another one that Aunt Cynthia loves so much. Do you remember when the song was released?
Which one?
This particular one, the Love Rock anthem?
No, I don't. Not the Love Rock, no.
Okay. But you were still working with them, right?
No, I wasn't.
You was.
Love Rock, I wasn't. No, you mean my own I was.
Yeah.
But Love Rock, no, I
you.
wasn't. I was working with Sarkodie, but not Samini.
Okay. So before we continue, our team put together something nice for you.
Are you kidding? So I saw
We're
it,
not
I'm
kidding.
thinking,
So this is yours from Memories on My Wall, from YFM, from Global Media Alliance. I mean, we would love to see this in your chambers, our office. Anytime you look at this, remember the fact that you came and touched lives on the show. A lot of people looked forward to this experience, and you've blessed us with it. So God bless you so much for coming through. Tissue. Wow, so that's a beautiful portrait.
Wow.
We appreciate you so much. I mean, your life.
I wasn't expecting that.
I know. This is yours, and that's a
Oh,
very
thank
beautiful
you
picture
so
of you,
much.
and it has the YFM on there.
Of
We
course
represent
it
the
does.
youth.
It's going straight on my wall, and I'll take a picture and show you.
And of course, it's by Memories on My
office.
Wall as well. They did it for you
Thank you.
with YFM. So thank you so much for coming. I mean, we're not
Thank
done,
you for having me.
but we appreciate you. You are a very
I need
busy
to
woman.
come more often. I think, I need to also offer a service to IFM, which is be a resource person. And even not even me,
Mm-hmm.
my law firm, young lawyers who want to do entertainment law. You have programs that you
Whoa.
want somebody to come on and share legal opinion on understanding. I think we're happy to do that.
Maybe we
for
can have a
IFM.
weekly plug where
We
we will
should.
offer, tips on the entertainment sphere, legal wise.
I think we should. I think we should do that.
We'll
let's
work on
let's
that.
make it happen.
The
Let's
team
make
will
it
talk
happen.
about that.
And we will provide that service free to YFM. In
Yay!
perpetuity.
What's the word they use? When it's free, pro bono. So I remember when Sir
Don't
Kodia.
bring yourself. Hey, this table you're about to shake. Please, it's Sir
I know. Honestly,
The pro bono
I'm
thing?
in the middle of this interview and I'm now thinking it's all making sense. KJ, I'm like, oh, so this is where Sir Kodia's pro bono word came from. A lot of us were
trying
like,
to convince him to go to law school. He and Samini both.
Yeah.
So we never know what would happen.
for the records, Cynthia inspired the pro bono word. Sir Kodia used in that freestyle. That's just by the way.
At least I didn't inspire the Irish cream.
Wow. Cynthia, Ghana's
Yes,
legal
sir.
education system has been
This is
criticized in
beautiful.
recent times and split opinion, even among those in the legal fraternity itself. What is your general opinion on that issue, and how do you think
Which
we should,
issue is this?
the legal education system, it's been criticized a lot. I mean, recently there was a protest.
About the intake
Yes,
of law
about yes. What do you think about this? What's your opinion on the situation?
about whether we should limit.
Yes or
I don't
no?
think we should limit.
We shouldn't?
No, why should we? I don't believe we should limit. However, I do believe, though, that the quality of legal education and the way that we teach it must be overhauled. The law is a practical-based subject. It's not just about the theory of it. I do believe that when I went to law school was the first year of my career as a lawyer. The approach, the case study work that it's used and the approach in teaching it should definitely be overhauled. In saying that, law is a very academic subject. I am in no way advocating that people who are not, the difficulty is that not everybody, and this goes generally for the whole world. There are people who are not good at passing exams, and so go and write law school exams and don't pass. Or might not even get a good degree, but become very good lawyers. It's not an indicator. Entrance exams are not an indicator of what success somebody
It's just a
should
part of
have.
the structures,
It's part of the
right?
structures. Unfortunately, because it's an old traditional profession, I know people who had to try 3, 4, 5 times to pass and get into law school, and can be very frustrating to the extent that people are going to other countries to do the law. I think we need a lot more lawyers. I mean, who am I to say? If we're limiting it based on quality control, that I agree with. But limiting it based on other factors, I don't. Everybody deserves a chance. We're a huge country, we're growing, we need more lawyers all over the place. I don't have a problem with that. So I sit on there are good arguments on both sides, but my focus more in ensuring that when we do select them, the training that is offered to lawyers goes beyond what is just traditionally there. The world is changing.
Yeah.
The practice of law is changing. We need to embrace a lot more of what's going on in the next world. The new generation of lawyers want to see that happening. We're still a little bit stuck in our archaic ways when it comes to legal education in this country, and we need to change that.
With that being said, for the sake of the young ones, especially the women aspiring to venture into law, what would be your advice to them based on the experience you've gathered over the years?
Do it. Believe you can do it. Like anything else, it's not going to be easy. But once you set your mind to doing it, you can do it. I mean, this is for everybody. Females, males, whatever you set your mind to. And for those of you out there who are thinking, is it too late? No, it's not too late. It's never too late. Go ahead and do it. I think the only thing I'll say is, do you really want to do it because you feel it's going to propel you to a certain status or society demands it, or is because you want to do it, right? Once you've answered that question truthfully, and it's something that you want to do because you feel that you have something to impact the next world, do it. It will be hard. I mean, law, it's not easy. You have to read, you have to learn, constant learning. And once you've even qualified, the learning continues with that. So if nothing should stop you. It will be difficult, even when I have people who pass they fail the exams, they can't say, keep pushing, keep pushing. And you can, like anything else, just keep pushing.
I'm just going to change the words into Nike. When I ask for, just do it.
Yeah.
I think next time when somebody asks me my advice, I'll just say, just Nike it. I mean, just do it.
It's just, the worst you could do is fail, but you'd have tried, so nothing should stop you from achieving whatever goals you set for yourself.
One personal question. So, well, since you have a lot of interest in our creative arts industry, if a production house wants to shoot a movie based on your life story, what title would you suggest, and who would you suggest, play your role? 2 questions.
Beyond all odds, maybe.
That would be the title?
Probably the title. In actual fact, I'm doing something very similar that I'll talk about. So I've set up a project called the Chronicles of a Working Mother. And the project came about because people ask me a lot, how do I combine? So we have a company set up, and we're in the process of putting together a talk show and also a process of putting together a series, which is chronicling the life of 6 different women with different, which is really about telling my story, not just my story. There are other stories out there. As well. Okay, what was the second question you said?
Who would act? Who would act? Yes, which actress would play?
In Ghana?
Perfect, yes.
I don't really know actresses. I like Jackie Appiah.
You like Jackie Appiah?
I think she's great. Actually, no. I would love Yvonne Okoro.
Yvonne Okoro to act.
Yeah, there's something about her. Never met her, but I think I like she's. Yeah.
I like that.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. When some people speak so much of something and then they say it's like that. Yeah.
She's just got this. I wish she could do more. If I had a production company and I had money to invest, those were probably the 2 that I would pick. You would pick, right? I think we don't. Shirley's doing an amazing job. We need to support her. Also.
Well, Ghana's youth in Ghana, of course, and beyond, are all listening today. The first piece of advice was for our legal, students, the ones who want to get into the law field.
Yes.
Tell the rest something. All of us, the KIA, the taxi driver, the intern in some company who just began work this morning, the other one that is almost on the verge of giving up, all of us.
Words are important. Yes, the words that people speak about you to you are important, but the words that you speak about yourself is even more important. Many of us have excuses, and valid, because we feel that society has not been fair to us, families have not been fair to us, people have said things about us, and it keeps ringing in our ears. Change the narrative. Change those words. I've had times when I have had to use words of affirmation to change the negative affirmations that I've had in my mind about something. So whether you use it through the Bible, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me, whether it's picking some verses, I find that repeating those things to myself, I can literally stand in front of the mirror, and I do this with my children sometimes.
And tell
children
yourself.
Go to school, they are bullied, I'm not beautiful enough, and I have a flat nose, and I have acne, and I've literally, speak to yourself. There's so much power in saying something to yourself and believing it, and it will change that. And no matter where you find yourself, push yourself, keep pushing. I know it's not easy. Some people find themselves in situations that is difficult. When I hear this criticism so much about so-called slave queens and women who are out there on Instagram, the question I ask is that, society has failed so many people, and it's easy to judge people. One project I always say I'll do, and I'm going to put it on record, so it'll probably get me to do this, when I drive past Togo Embassy, I see these prostitutes lined up. I ask myself, if they had opportunities like some of us, would they be there? And one thing that I would want to do is to be able to set up a project one day where I can literally pick up these women and provide training for them to bring them back into society. So it's difficult. It's not easy. Even for some of us who are supposedly, privileged, that we've got a good job, all of that. It's difficult.
It's not easy.
I did an interview recently which went viral. I get so many people message me about their difficulties, not even be able to pay for food to eat. All of that is difficult, but keep believing inside. Reach out to people if you have to, but the key thing is keep believing in your dreams and in your ability to do things. Take baby steps. Know that wherever you are now and whatever you're doing is contributing to that journey. So then discount it. If you're here as an intern, you're here as a cleaner, The journey matters. You might think one day when you become a producer of the show, it will make sense why you needed to learn from the beginning. I mean, Senna said when he started with me, he came as an intern, actually on a 6 months contract. And today, he's the operations manager, and he's earned it, you know. So it's about believing more in yourself, affirming that you can change the world. It starts with a dream, but you can make it.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Wise words from Cynthia Quarcoo, my guest for Wiley the Board series today. It's been an experience, I won't even lie. I enjoyed it.
It's such a pleasure. I was so excited. I wrote under your post yesterday that I'd chosen my dress. Actually, I wasn't lying. Yeah. I was so excited. I went and started going through my wardrobe. I'm going to wear this. I was very excited. It feels like coming back home. And this obviously proved that I was right about that. And I'm incredibly humbled. I'm definitely going to wear this on my wall with pride.
We're pleased.
Thank you so much for having me. And please, can I come back on something?
Anytime. Just call Chris. You know,
I'm
Chris
looking at him because I know that who's the one who's the
Chris.
boss. Hi, sweetness. Hi, sweetness.
So she's the one you treat good.
Yes, can I please come back?
This question just came in. I wish we could go, but
yes.
So the person said, said please. Since you consult for she doesn't consult for. Since you work with Samini and Sarkodie, there's an alleged beef between them over the Artist of the Decade, award. Is it true?
Please, so. Yeah, I don't know about any alleged.
They haven't called you to settle any beef like that.
No, even when you have 6 children, there will definitely be small beef, right?
So it's nothing.
The truth is that I think people are making a big deal out of it. Clearly, both artists deserved it.
Okay, but one had to go with it.
In actual fact, did I make the announcement? I made an announcement for the other one, right? Both artists deserved it. And when it comes to things like that, I sit on the fence. They can tell you I don't even comment. I'm there because I'm like, I don't mind. Do I believe that Sarkodie should have picked it? I didn't vote. The voters said that he picked it. And Samini is an incredible human being, and people don't give him as much credit as I think he deserves. Samini is not. I'm sure he thought rightly that he deserved it, but may the best person win, and that's it. There's never been any aggro between the two of them at all, at least not to my knowledge, ever.
All right.
About it. It's all tcreated.
All right. So it's all cleared, Quaps. We're good, right? Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, Cynthia.
So
we're looking forward to having you back soon.
I will be back.
Yeah. Guys, this has been the Wiley the Board series. It's 52:11. Thank you so much going out to the production team. Eddie Blade Blase, the Lieutenant, Tim, to Ken, to George, Digital, ETV guys, Ellie, Lester, Kali J, Chris, myself. Hey.
This is YFM.